for letting me come in and see you this morning. And you can see I brought a bunch of my friends. This is like the one time a year I get to see this group of friends. And we're going to talk to them in just a minute. But as Mr. Blinn said, we're going to talk today about money. So I'm going to ask you a question, okay? There are 3 things that you can do with money that all start with the letter S. Who can tell me one thing that we can do with money that starts with the letter S? Right here in the cool sweatshirt.
Save.
Save. Good job. All right, here's one. Over here in the pink t-shirt, what's another thing we can do with money? Spend. Yeah, perfect. Here's the other one. All right, here's the third one. What's the one last thing that we can do with money that starts with the letter S? Right back here in the black t-shirt. Yes, ma'am. You don't know. All right. Somebody else want to take a guess? Right here in the Nike t-shirt.
I think we can donate.
Donate. So what's another? That's a great answer. It doesn't start with the letter S. So what's another word for donate that starts with the letter S? Lady in the red shirt.
Spend.
Nope. We got spend already. Right next to you.
Sell.
No, you're close. Here, let me put it to you this way. How many of you have younger brothers or sisters at home? And when it's time, you've got a toy that they want to play with. What do you usually do with that toy that starts with the letter S? Right here. Share. All right, good job. All right. So there are 3 things that we do with money that start with the letter S. We can save it, we can share it, and we can spend it. So we're going to spend a little bit of time today talking about those 3 ideas and money, okay? Now, you guys, I hear, are the smartest 2nd graders in the city of Concord. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, I heard that. Are you the smartest 2nd graders in the state of New Hampshire?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, so let me introduce you to some other smart people that I brought with me today, okay? So over here on the end in the pretty blue shirt, this is the Commissioner of Education for the state of New Hampshire, and his name is Mr. Edelman. Good morning, Mr. Edelman.
Good morning. Good morning.
So could you tell us one thing that your family might save money for, Mr. Edelman?
Well, sometimes we think about wanting to go on a vacation to someplace special, like maybe Disneyland or Disney World or something like that. But if we want to go, we have to save up our money so then we have enough money to go to see Mickey Mouse.
Right, there you go. Next to him is Mr. Little, and Mr. Little is the commissioner for the whole state of New Hampshire of this thing called the Banking Commission. And so, how many of you know what we do at banks? All right, let's see if you're right. Commissioner Little, what does a bank do with money?
Well, the bank collects money from consumers and helps them save it. And then the bank turns around and lends it to other people who need some money.
Okay, so how many of you have like a bank account at home? Okay, a bank. Or how many of you have a piggy bank? Awesome. Mr. Little, if you think about it, Mr. Little and all of the banks that he works with in the state, they're like very large piggy banks, right? So people put their money into those banks and then he helps lend out that money. Next to him is my friend Mr. Murray. And Mr. Murray works for a company called Fidelity Investments. And one of the things that they do at Fidelity is they help families save for something that we noticed some of your teachers and Mr. Blinn are kind of recognizing today. Mr. Murray, what's one thing that families can save money for that your company helps them do?
Oh boy, there's a lot of things in life, but you know, one thing that a lot of people save for a long time is college. Going to college, that can be really expensive for some people, and so if you start early, if your parents start early and are consistent, and keep putting a little amount away every week or every month, then that money can grow, and going to college is a little bit easier.
Awesome, thank you. Next to him is my friend Mrs. Thornton. Wait, Mrs. Thornton. And she and I work together at a company that we help families think about planning and paying for college. But she's also a mom. And she has a little boy and a little girl who are a little bit older than you. So what's one thing that you've taught your children about money, Mrs. Thornton?
Well, my daughter is in 3rd grade and she got a piggy bank. And so we started saving up all the pennies and all the quarters that she found in the house. And she filled it up, and then we brought it to the bank, and she opened up her own bank account. And then she saved up some more money, and she brought that to the bank, and now she has $175.
$175 saved?
She took all the pennies and all the quarters, the money from the tooth fairy, money that her grandma gave her, and it all, she didn't spend any of it. She saved it all.
That's pretty cool. How many of you have a piggy bank at home? Let me see those hands. Or how many of you sometimes take your money to the bank and it gets put in a bank account? Awesome. All right, and then this young man on the end in the other light blue shirt, wow, I didn't realize that until just now, is my friend Mr. Dwyer.
Good morning.
And Mr. Dwyer also works for the state of New Hampshire. Okay, so he works for all of us, right? So he helps us every day do things with the state's money. So what's one thing, Mr. Dwyer, well, let me ask the boys and girls and then you be the judge. What is one thing that you might think that the state of New Hampshire spends money on every day? What's one thing that you think we might spend money on every day in the state of New Hampshire that Mr. Dwyer kind of oversees? How about right here in the lovely orange shirt?
Maybe like food or something for like food, or maybe like for your house.
Food, housing?
There are some people who receive help from the state
Yeah.
to buy food when they need it.
Yeah.
So that's one
That's
example.
one thing.
Yeah.
How many of you rode the school bus to school today? Okay. Not many of you, because this is such a great area to walk in. But you know those big yellow things, those school buses? What do they ride on?
Wheel.
Do they ride on, well, they ride on wheels, yeah. But do they ride on like something like a road? So do we spend money in our state to make sure that our roads are safe and that our bridges are safe?
Yes, we do. We have to make sure, especially in the winter time, that the roads are plowed
Oh, right,
so
right.
that you guys can go to your play dates when school gets canceled.
There you go, okay. So, those are some things that we can do with money, right? So that's how our friends work with money. Do you have something that came with you today, Mr. Dwyer?
I do, if I can get it off the floor. Here we go.
All right, so let me tell you a little secret. This month, we're out across the state and we're teaching other 2nd graders across the state about money, right? About sharing and saving and spending their money. But here's a little tip. We're starting our program this month right here at Abbot-Downing School. So you are the first school who is seeing this. Now, does anybody know who the governor is of the state of New Hampshire right now? Right back there, young man in the orange shirt. Yes.
I forgot.
Okay, who might know? Lady over here in the pink.
Donald Trump.
No, he's the president of the United States, but you were close. Lady next to you.
The person who helps the state, they help Donald Trump.
Well, sort of, they helped Donald Trump. It is a man by the name of Governor Sununu. See, y'all knew the name, right? So Governor Sununu couldn't be with us today, but what he did is he sent Mr. Dwyer with a special note for your school, okay? So Mr. Dwyer, would you like to read part of that letter for our friends?
I will, and one thing that I'll let you know is a lot of times in this letter, the word whereas is used, but whereas means because. So every time you hear me say whereas, you can think of that word really meaning because, okay? So I'll read parts of the letter. Because first education is essential for ensuring that the youth of New Hampshire are prepared to manage money and credit wisely and responsibly, and because New Hampshire Jumpstart Coalition evaluates the financial literacy of youth, develops, disseminates, and encourages the use of financial literacy educational standards for grades K through college, promotes the teaching of personal finance to New Hampshire's youth, which is all of you, and provides free training and curriculum materials to teachers, students, and parents, and whereas the contribution of time, talent, energy, and concerns of the New Hampshire Jumpstart Coalition volunteers, that's what all of us are, volunteers, who come from the business, government, and education sectors, should not go unrecognized. Now therefore, I, Governor Christopher T. Sununu, Governor for the state of New Hampshire, do hereby proclaim April 2019 as Youth Financial Literacy Month in the state of New Hampshire and call this to the attention of all citizens. And I can show you. Signed it.
Who signed it? There's a big seal. That's a pretty cool thing.
It's a nice
Nice. So you guys are first in the state to get this year. Congratulations. All right, we're going to get started. So we know we're going to talk about sharing and saving and spending our money. So who can tell me what money is? What is money? Right there in the gray shirt. Yep.
Money is something you can buy something.
Okay, so money is something that we use when we'd like to buy something, right? Okay, so that's a great definition, actually. So the definition is what we use money to trade for our needs and our wants. So a great example of that is somebody said today that you're having mozzarella sticks for lunch, right? I heard that. Okay, so for you to get lunch, your moms and dads are helping to buy lunch, and they're giving the school what for you to buy lunch with? Money. Absolutely. Okay, so money is what we use to trade for our needs and our wants. Needs and wants. Who can tell me what needs, the word needs is? Does anybody know what that word means?
It means to
It's something you have to survive? That's a really great definition. That's a really great definition. What is a want? When we say needs and wants, what's a want? Right here in the blue t-shirt, the blue sleeves, yep.
You don't need to have it, but you feel like you should have it. It's not like you need to have it, but you want to have it. You should have it in your mind.
Oh, that's a really good definition. Needs and wants. Really good. Okay, so you're going to help me out here for a second. There's a couple of ways that you can get money for things that you need and want. How many of you get an allowance or you get some money if you do chores around the house? Okay. How many of you probably don't have a job yet, but I bet these people do, so they get money from their jobs. Mr. Glenn gets paid for being your principal. Your teachers get paid for being your teachers. How many of you might have an older brother or sister who has a part-time job? Works at McDonald's or Burger King or Market Basket? Okay, so sometimes we get money. Boys and girls. How many of you have birthdays? So how many of you, show me by hand, how many of you might get money for your birthday? Awesome. Hands down, please. How many of you, Mrs. Thornton kind of alluded to this, it's not really a holiday, but maybe for Christmas, or maybe when the tooth fairy comes, you might get some money, right? So that's one way you get money. And how many of you, like when I was a kid, I also found money because I would go and lift up the couch cushions or the sofa cushions in my house. Anybody find it there? Okay. All right. So we had some awesome definitions about what a need is and what a want is. And you're going to help me with a little exercise. Needs are things that keep us safe and healthy and well. And wants, like this young man said, are those things that we really, really don't need, but we really, really want them. Okay? So now's your opportunity to show our panel how smart you are. Because I am going to show you some pictures. And if you think the picture is a need, something we have to be safe, happy, and well. Safe, healthy, and well, excuse me. You're going to clap your hands once, okay? If it is something that you would want, you're going to raise your hands, okay? You ready, judges? All right, here we go. So water. All right, I need one person to tell me why water is a need. Let's see. Over here on the second row, the far end in the blue shirt. Can you stand up for me?
Water you need to survive.
Well, why do you need water to survive? You need it to be healthy. Mr. Edelman, what do you think?
I think that's the right answer. Good job.
Okay, because you need water to drink. You need water to take a bath or a shower, right? And to be hydrated. And we also need it because what do we do with water when we have gardens? We water gardens. All right, so let's see. See? Perfect. All right, let's move on to the next one. Gum and candy, is that a need or a want? All right, Mr. Murray. All right. And why are gum and candy a want? Does it keep you healthy? No. Does it keep you safe? No. Does it keep you well? No. All right, I think you guys might be right. Yay, Mr. Murray. Oh, a toothbrush and toothpaste. All right, I need someone to tell me why toothbrush and toothpaste are an absolute need. Lady right back up here in the blue, can you stand up for me? Why are toothbrush and toothpaste an absolute need? So you don't get cavities. Mrs. Thornton, what do you think?
Absolutely right.
Absolutely right. Let's see. Judges are correct, and you were correct. Good job. All right. So fun music. Oh, all right. Hands down. Mr. Little, our group seems to feel that music is a want? Like buying a CD or a CD or music for your iPod?
Close call. Music is very important to me, but I have to agree with them. They're correct.
Right. Does music keep you healthy? No. Does it keep you safe? No. Does it keep you well?
Yeah.
All right. So here we go. Great. Here's our next example. All right. So you guys feel that this is definitely a need. So who can tell me why it's a need? Right here in the pink suite. Can you stand up for us? Tell us why a seatbelt is a need.
So that's you're safe just in case of car crash.
So you're safe just in case of a car crash. Mr. Dwyer, what do you think?
I think she's right. I think
All right.
everybody's right. about
Let's
that
say.
Yep.
Nicely done. All right. All right, who can tell us why you think video games are a want? Gentlemen back here in the gray, can you stand up for us, please? Because they're not very important. Do they keep you healthy? They keep you safe? They keep you well? All right, judges, what do we think?
I think they're right.
You think they're right? We got a couple more of these. Bike helmets. They keep, yep. So, I'm thinking you're all raising your hands because you want me to call on you to answer the question. So let me just quickly clarify. Is a bike helmet a need or is it a want? It's a need. Let's see. You're all saying it's a need. Who can tell me why bike helmets are a need? Over here in the pretty big flowery shirt. Oh, you don't want to break your head open when you fall on the pavement like I did. Okay, so let's see. Mr. Murray?
I think you're right.
All right. I think you might be right. Yay. Good job. All right, a few more.
I have those.
All right, hands down. Hands down. Who can tell me why these are wants and not needs? Right here in the gray on the end. They don't keep you safe. Okay. So, let's see. Mr. Little, stuffed animals, want or need?
Definitely a want.
Definitely a want. All right, a couple more, guys. Fruits and veggies. Awesome. So, why are fruits and veggies important and they are a need? Over here in the black shirt. Yeah. They keep you healthy and they keep you strong. Mr. Edelman, what do you think?
Absolutely right. They keep you healthy and strong.
They keep you healthy and strong. That's absolutely right, guys. All right, this is our last one. All right, hands down. Hands down. I'm going to ask you a question. Hands down. In the middle. All right. So, how many of you, by a show of hands, think books are a need? How many of you, by a show of hands, think that books are a want? How many of you are like, that's just a crazy question, Tori, because guess what? They're both a need and a want. All right. So who could tell me where shirt.
I said
Who can tell me why books are a need and a want, maybe?
they're neat because some books can teach you, and they're a lot because some books can't teach you.
But they're just fun to read, like Pete the Cat? Yeah. So books are a need because you need textbooks while you're here at school, but sometimes you might want to go home and read Pete the Cat just for fun, right? Judges? This is a toughie.
That's tough.
It's a
but-
toughie. All right, let's see the right answer. Oh, it's a need. Ha-ha. It's also a want. All right, so here's my question. Here's my question, boys and girls. If you went to buy all 3 of those books, it would cost you about $23, okay? If you did not have $23, what's one thing you could do if you wanted all those books? Back here in the peach shirt in the back row. You could get a job and earn some money to buy them. Yep, that's one way. What's another way? Over here in the gray shirt with the blue. You could save up and buy one of them or buy all of them. Yep. Over here in the pink t-shirt. What's another way? You could get them at the library. That is so perfect. Those are all ways. Do you have a library here at Abbot-Downing?
Yeah.
And how many of you have been to our awesome library downtown? Yeah. All right. So now, you guys pretty much know what a need is and what a want is, okay? I want to show you, what's that little blue thing on the bottom of the screen? That's called a moon jar, okay? And it looks just like this. Who can tell me what that says? Save. What's that one say? And then that would mean our green one probably says spend. Okay, so remember, those are the things that we're talking about today. How do we share, save, and spend our money? So we're going to start off and talk about spend, right? So the stuff that's in this green thing. So to spend money is to give money when we want to pay for goods or services. Goods and services, those are kind of funny words, okay? Anybody know a good, let's go this way. A good is something that you can spend your money on and take it home with you, okay? A service is maybe something that someone does for you or provides you a service. Like they do something for you, like perhaps, somebody mentioned plowing roads earlier, like snow plowing your driveway. Goods are things that we can take home. Like in our previous example, goods are things like the toothbrush and the toothpaste, or the stuffed animals, or the video games. And services are things that people do in exchange for money. They do a service for you, and you're paying them money. So we have a couple questions. What is one thing that your family might spend money on, maybe each week? What's one thing that your family spends money on each week that's a good? Something that you go and you buy and you bring home. Who haven't we spoken with yet? Lady right there in the aqua shirt with the black sweater. Food, if you buy it from a grocery store. Do we think that's a good? All right, who's got another example? Right here. The water bill. Well, that's the first time I've heard that one. So let's say your family is paying for water each week to come to your house, right? That's kind of a service, but it's also kind of a good. I'm going to go with a good. All right. One more example of a good that your family spends money on. Right here in the aqua t-shirt, next to the lady in the Dartmouth sweatshirt. Yep. One thing that your family spends money on each week. The what bill, sweetie? Energy bill. Well, here's the thing. The energy bill is probably more of a service because can you see energy in your house? No. So like you can't like go to the store and buy some energy and bring it home, right? Okay. So let me ask you, Mr. Edelman, what's an example of a good that your family spends money on?
Well, we have to drive our cars, but they don't run by themselves. We have to put gas in them, so we buy gasoline for our cars.
Excellent. Mr. Little, one thing your family spends on money on that's a good.
It's a good, definitely food. We spend a lot of money on food.
Food. All right. Mr. Murray.
Well, we sometimes when certain people are good, are behaving, we'll buy a little candy or something like that and bring that home, or ice cream.
Ice cream. There you go. That's a good. Mrs. Thornton.
Food for my bunny rabbit.
Oh. How many of you have dogs or kittens or bunny rabbits at home? Right? You have to buy them food. Okay. Mr. Dwyer, what's one good that your family spends money on?
Did anyone say clothes yet? Because
Oh.
I have to buy a lot of ties.
Yeah, right? We have to buy clothes, we have to buy food. How many of you sleep in a bed at night? Right, so sometimes we have to buy furniture, right? Or a blanket, or a pillow. Those are goods, okay? Things that you can touch. You go in the store, you buy them, you bring them home kind of things. Okay. What's an example of a service? So we talked about energy. Your family has to buy energy, they have to pay the electric bill, but you don't really see it. It's something that you pay for and it's done to you or sent to you or given to you or provided for you. Let's see, who has an idea of a service, like snow plowing? Lady back here in the pink with the pretty glasses.
Wow, that's a great.
That's awesome. Did you hear what she said? How many of you go and get your hair cut? That's an awesome example of a service. All right, who's got another example of a service? Right here in the lavender shirt. No, jobs aren't really a service like how you're thinking. Let me give you a little tip. How many of you have to go to the doctors for a checkup once a year? All right, and as much as you love your doctor, do you pack him up and bring him home with you? So he's giving you a service. How many of you in the springtime or in the summer, how many of you might have somebody who comes and mows your lawn? Right? Besides your parents or your big brother or sister. All right. Who on our panel can give an example of a service that your family spends money on? Mr. Edelman.
How about our teachers in the room who provide a great service teaching all the kids?
That's an awesome example. You love your teachers, but you don't pack them up and take them home with you at the end of the day, right? Awesome example. Great example. All right, we're going to move on. We're going to move on to... So who can tell me what save means? What does it mean if we save our money? What are we doing if we're saving our money? Someone we haven't called on. Right here, sweetie, in the gray. I'm gonna come back to you, all right? Okay, who can tell me what it means to save money? Right here in the white t-shirt and the robe. Yes. Stand up and tell us. So you're going to save your money for a while for something that you really want. That might be the right kind of description, judges. Let's see. To save means that we're not going to spend our money and we're going to set it aside so we can buy something later on down the road. So what might be one thing that you could save your money for? I'm going to ask one of you, right here in the nice t-shirt. I'm sorry? Pokemon cards. Yes, you could save your money to buy a set of Pokemon cards. What's one thing you could save your money for? You betcha.
Lego sets.
Legos. Absolutely. All right, let's ask our panel. Mrs. Thornton, one thing that your family might save money for?
Well, remember I told you about my daughter's piggy bank?
Your piggy bank, yep.
She wants to save up her money for a horse, but so that's something that's going to take a long time
Oh.
to save.
Very good point. We're going to come back to that. Mr. Little, one thing that your family might save money for?
Well, we're saving for a new television because our current TV is on the fence.
Oh, saving money for a TV. So now, here's my next set of questions. Hands down. This is perfect. You guys are so smart. Short-term savings, or when you save for a little bit, are things that you can usually save up to and you can buy within a year. So if you saved your money for a year, do you think you could buy Pokemon cards?
Yeah.
If you saved your money for a year, do you think you could buy a TV? Like Mr. Little? You know what? It may not be the 60-inch big screen TV, but you could buy a TV if you saved for a year. So it's things that you could save up your money and buy within a year. Do you think if you saved your money for a year, you could buy a baseball bat? Do you think if you saved your money for a year, you could buy one of those funky video games that we saw earlier? Yeah. Right? So those are things that you can save. When you save for the long time, that's called long-term savings. And you have to save more than a year. So Mrs. Thornton said her daughter would like to buy a horse. So Mrs. Thornton, is that a long-term savings as opposed to a short-term? She's going to have to save more than a year?
Yep. She's going to have to collect for a long time.
A long time. What's one more thing in your house that you could save, you would have to save a long time for in order to be able to buy it? Right over here in the lovely light blue. Stuff for your house, like what? Yep, maybe furniture. Or, you know, another great example is something you might have to save for a long time for to have at your house. A swimming pool. Right? A swimming pool. Let's see, Mr. Murray, one thing that your family might save for a long time before you could buy it.
Well, I would say, so we all have vacations, right? And it might be a short-term savings to go skiing for a weekend. You can do that, you can save for that for less than a year. But if you wanted to take your family to some exotic place like Italy or somewhere else in Europe, you might have to save long-term.
Right, so maybe a good example of saving for short term is if you wanted to go up north and go snowboarding or skiing for a weekend. And long-term saving is if you want to go on vacation, but you want to go for a couple of weeks or a month, and you want to go someplace where you have to fly and you have to stay in a hotel, so it's a lot more expensive, okay? So that's what it means for long-term, something you have to save for more than a year. I like to show this example because I use it with my own kids. So we're going to look at that top line, the one under the blue, that says if you save this amount each week, if you save $2 a week, at the end of a year, how much money would you have? It's that number that's next to the $2. $104. Who can tell me one thing that you think you can buy with $100? Right back here in the blue with the pink pretty bow in your hair. Yes. Buy a what? A boat? Not quite. Not quite. What's one thing that you could buy with $100? Over here in the gray t-shirt. Yes. Can you stand up for us so we can hear you? A skateboard. What do you think?
Yeah.
All right, judges are on board. This is good. All right, if you saved $2 every week for 10 years, how much money would you have? That's the number on the right-hand side of the screen. $1,040. Let's ask your principal, Mr. Blinn, what's one thing you could buy with $1,040?
You might be able to buy your new TV with $1,040.
You might be able to buy that big TV, right, for $1,040. Who's got another example of something that you might be able to spend $1,000 on? Right here, the blue t-shirt. A mansion. It might be a small mansion, but you're getting the idea, right? You probably can't buy a house with $1,000, but a house is a very expensive thing to buy. So a lot of people do save up for a long time to buy a house. Mr. Blinn is wearing something, and I see a couple of your other teachers wearing something. It's a shirt, and it has something on it, and we save in my house for it, and I get to help kids and families in the state think about how to save for it every day. What is that? College. When do you go to college? When you're 18 or older, and what's the one thing you've done before you go to college? What grade do you have to get through before you can go to college? High school. So Mr. Edelman, you know this because he does this every day. What grade is that when you get through high school?
12th grade.
12th grade. So you've got another 10 years, so if you save $2 every week between now and the time you graduate 12th grade, you'd have $1,000 that you might want to use to help pay for college. See how that works? All right. Here's a fun example. Here's a fun example we're going through in my house right now. If you save $10 a week, see that bottom number? After 10 years, you would have $5,200, $5,200. And do you know what my niece, who's about to graduate from college, is going to use money that she saved to buy when she graduates from college? What do you think you could buy with $5,000? A car, exactly. So she's been saving her money, and she'll buy her first car because she has saved her money for a long time. Exactly. All right, we're going to move on to this one. What's this one? All right, you guys are good. So who can tell me what it means to share? I need a good definition. Lady over here in the glasses, can you stand up for us, sweetie, and tell us?
Giving money to people
Giving money to people
who
who,
want to buy something.
that's a great example. That's a great definition. Giving money to people who want to buy something or need something, but they don't have that money. So you're sharing your money with them. So, to share is to give money or your time, like our great volunteers this morning, or talent to another person or a special charity. Do you guys help raise money here at Abbot-Downing for a charity?
Yes, we do.
Okay, who can tell me one charity that you help raise money for, that you give away? Right here in Grace Church. Yep.
One of the charities that you give for Abbot-Downing is, the box tops.
Great example, right? How many of you bring in box tops? And then those box tops, don't they help you buy supplies for here at the school?
And also money, like pennies, is also a reminder of presidents, like penny has also have on it, $5 bill has a cup on it. Well, Abraham Lincoln has on it.
See?
So they can remember the president.
Awesome. All right, what's one other charity here? Mr. Blinn, what else do you guys raise money for here as sharing your money or your time or your talents?
We just raise money for the jump rope for art.
I love that one, right? How many, are you doing that this year? Have you done it yet?
Yeah.
Awesome. So, is when you come in, you jump rope, you collect money, and you're giving it to the Heart Association, right? And then they share that money with people to help teach them all about your heart. Sometimes, how about at Christmas? To your point, young man, how about at Christmas? How many of you, when you go shopping and you see the people from the Salvation Army with those big red kettles and they ring the bells outside of the store? They're collecting money to share with people and people that the Salvation Army works with. That's a great example. All right, so here's the deal. We're coming rapidly to the end of our session, and now this is where I'm going to ask you guys to help me with something, okay? Can I have a volunteer, please? I'm going to give you 2. So, Mrs. Thornton, here's our activity. Mrs. Thornton is going to stand right over here, and Mr. Dwyer is going to stand right over here at the end of this row. You have all just had your first job. It went by like that, okay? You have been working at Sprinkles Ice Cream Shop, and today is payday. And the first thing that you're going to get paid is a pencil that they're giving you. Okay? Then Mr. Murray and Mr. Little. One of you can stand next to Mr. Dwyer and one of you next to Mrs. Thornton. Everybody's going to get a pencil and you're getting paid $1. Okay? So everybody get your pencil and your dollar bill and sit quietly after you've got it for me. And here's the decision. I'm going to call you up row by row, and when you come up, you are going to think if you want to take your dollar and you want to save it to help your classroom buy a college bear, okay? Or are you going to put your dollar bill in our share bucket, where we will give you pencils that your class will share with a first grade classroom? I'm going to say the bear won. So you all decided you wanted to save up for the bear. Interesting. But cool. So here's what's going to happen. Both, thank you helpers, both of your class, all of your classrooms are going to get a bear. Okay? And because we believe in sharing, right? You're all going to get pencils to pick a first grade classroom to give pencils to, right? It's important to share. One last thing before I let you go. Let's have a round of applause for our judges today. Thank you for letting my friends and I come and spend time with you this morning. Have a really great day.